What can you tell us broadly about what you're expecting over the next couple of months?
Yeah, so we do have the long-range forecast issued at the moment. They go out to February and even March. So what it shows for Australia as a whole is that we are continuing to expect to see very warm days and nights right across the country, which will come as no surprise, particularly given the heat wave we're experiencing across parts of WA, and we'll see it over the southeast into the weekend. In terms of rainfall, we are expecting to see a wetter than average next 2 months of summer, particularly for eastern Queensland and eastern New South Wales, where we have already seen quite a bit of storm and flash flooding activity. Also potentially seeing above average rainfall for South Australia, while for Victoria and Tasmania, it is looking to be closer to typical rainfall conditions, and across the north, also closer to typical conditions as well for rainfall.
And Jonathan, there were a couple of specific weather patterns that I wanted to touch on, starting in Western Australia, about the fire and the very hot temperatures there in the fire. I understand it's been downgraded. What can you update me on that?
So we are seeing very hot conditions across southwest and western WA. Perth hit 38 degrees yesterday. It is a little bit cooler along the coast, but inland, particularly east of the Perth Hills, we are still seeing temperatures in the mid to high 30s and into the low 40s across the wheat belt. And there are a number of fires that we're monitoring as well, including a watch and act fire near the town of Chidlow. So that's about halfway between Perth and the town of York. That is at a watch and act, and we are expecting to see high fire dangers there today. Temperatures reaching 35 or 36 degrees and very gusty westerly winds picking up through the afternoon. But further inland, we do have extreme fire dangers for much of the wheat belt and down towards the coast, including Albany and Esperance. So we do remind people across southwest WA to keep up to date with the latest information from the Bureau and any advice coming out from DFES.
Yeah, indeed. And what about in New South Wales, where there have been some areas where it's been incredibly windy?
We had that strong southerly change push through the New South Wales coast yesterday afternoon and into the evening. It did reach Sydney closer to midnight, but behind that, we did see some very strong southerly winds gusting 60 to 80 kilometres an hour for the south coast, the Illawarra, and also up into Port Botany. Those winds continued into this morning, and we did have strong wind warnings out, but those winds are gradually now easing, although we do still have a strong wind warning current for Sydney Harbour. But it is a general reminder for those, not just across New South Wales, but all across Australia, to keep an eye on the latest marine wind warnings and coastal conditions heading out this summer.
And there's also been a lot of focus on storms in Queensland, hasn't there?
Yes, that's right. So more flash flooding yesterday, particularly across the Burnett region and the southeast of Queensland. We did see those storms deliver totals in excess of 80 millimetres, but not everyone did see this rainfall. That's because these thunderstorms can be quite hit and miss, but because the soil is quite wet across southeast and central Queensland, it doesn't really take much rainfall to see rivers and creeks rise, as well as drains start to fill up as well. And for today, we can expect to see more thunderstorm activity for northeast New South Wales, southeast Queensland, and all the way up the coast towards places like Mackay, Townsville and Cairns, and we could also see pockets of heavy rainfall leading to flash flooding. So the message is for people right across Queensland, keep an eye on the radar and any warnings, not just today, but into the weekend with storms expected to continue.